They're calling you a radical. This is post-ignorance. I've done a series of these paintings. They're cloth over plywood. I've made them. I have a whole series of them. They take off on a young woman's life. This young woman born in 1981. I have one born in 1985. The great conservative movement as the end of the great progressive movement. As I've been thinking a lot about this whole thing, I started this in 94, 95, my post-ignorance, as I was a derivative trader. As a lawsuit, I filed Schwab, and I learned the hard way that there is no due process through the brokerage system, that you have to sign every single account signs a clause, arbitration clause, and they own the arbitration. I had such a slam dunk case, big case, that it went all the way to the top. Anyway, this is my post-ignorance was born. I'll show you the painting that born. It's right here. As I was painting in the nuclear genre, my nuclear vagina, my nuclear triangle, I've been painting in my whole life. That's the painting that started this whole thing, right there. You can see 95, 96. Ooh, there's the Dow, 44. That's what started this post-ignorance art movement of mine. My book is foundation, not even foundation. I want to talk about that. It's not even foundation, my book. My book is the lot. It's left in rough draft. It has misspelled words. It has metaphors all over it. It is the building lot. My stucco work, some of it, it's the money to buy the lot. The Masonic temple that I chiseled, part of the foundation. The foundation is just getting ready to go in. Fukushima is everything. Everything. Everything, everything, everything with post-ignorance. As the neo-ignorance movement. Is Fukushima the capitulation byproduct? As I wrote 2 years ago, I thought that maybe 10-10-10 was the capitulation. I'll get into that. As I was admitted to the hospital full of leukemia, given 2 months to live on 11-11-11. I want to read this. I know you've heard it to nausea. I have a couple videos that I'm going to tag to this, and they're very important and relevant to this post-ignorance movement of mine. I see post-ignorance as a pure art movement in the concept of art itself, in the concept of art as culture, in the concept that people are culture, in the concept that inspiration and influence are the great historical artists like Van Gogh on the Lake, like Pollock's reference to Kandinsky. By the way, let's be clear about this. Kandinsky, the Russian artist, he was an economist first. Has he been a huge influence on me? Massive. 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 Was his art brilliant? Beyond brilliant. Beyond brilliant. I've been thinking a lot, when was the last real iconic piece of art? I'll get into that. Like Monet to the sunlight, morning, dawn, winter, fall, spring, summer, spring. It is influenced by the involvements of the time. My look at culture and art thereas today, economic theory, popular culture, art or morality, the lack thereof art, the mind of seeing when others for some uncognitive reason do not see. Everyone saw the light from millenniums. Everyone saw a simple line from millenniums. Everyone saw electric color from millenniums. It is more per se than the artist. Monet saw the light, Millet saw the struggle, Van Gogh saw the line, Smithson saw the simplicity of the line and the shape of the landscape against the shape of the landscape. Kandinsky saw the election of color and shape. Pollock saw the color and dynamics in motion. But much more than that, they saw it. Decades ahead of the truth. Their minds saw fact and truth. Their minds were strong enough to act upon what they understood, when all others did not understand, not yet. They had strong backs and knew how to work. They were the purification of ambition, intelligence, education, smooth with work ethic. I visualized and have for over 2 years, known via my Hawken trial. Excuse me. I have visualized and have for over 2 decades now, via my Hawken trial, via my keyboard, via my paintbrush, via my cardboard $3 throwaway camera, via my flip video camera, via my soapbox, YouTube, via my websites is this. Poetic injustice to the entire world, wars without provocation, pain without a crime, love without an artistic spirit, ignorance with a club, a big club. As the counter, what I have termed neo-ignorance is post-ignorance. I see post-ignorance like this, as a movement in pure intellectualism, in a broad intellectualism. Not I know how to draw, not I know history, not I know art history, not I know how to draw like a camera, not I know how to interpretate, not I know how to incorporate. But I know culture, I know environments, in the more exposed manner. I know economics, I know geopolitics, I know metaphors, good and bad. I know struggle, and what it feels like to be stolen in wealth and mind, artistic and benevolent. That's what post-ignorance is. It's people and places and things, and it's history, and it's knowledge. It is the pure counter to the neo-ignorant movement. Sorry, you guys. Bear with me. Bear with me. I'm going to have to change that line to patience, which I usually have very little patience. Very little patience. I'll have to learn. Today, I watched The Misfits, and when I was in the hospital, and these videos that I'm going to tag are very important. They're very important. The video with the horse and the scene from The Misfits, that is shot right out by the Spiral Jetty. When I got sick, I drew this 10-10-10. A lot of my book is 10-10-10. I have this big thing with 11. I was admitted, given hardly any chance to live, full of cancer out of the blue on 11-11-11. Anyway, when I was in there, my daughter flew in from New York. Everybody got there, gathered around. They're meeting with the doctors outside the room. They thought I couldn't hear them talking. I could hear my daughters talking, those beautiful, incredible young women. And they're like, by the way, my oldest daughter, that is her. That painting is her. She's perfect for this because she was conceived the night that Lenin was murdered on Eccles Avenue, right before Fawn died. It's so perfect with metaphors. The end of the progressive movement was over. And the great conservative movement was born, as she was when Lenin was killed. She was conceived that night. She lives right by the Dakota now. She flew in, the doctors were talking. They didn't think I could hear. I could hear my girls talking among each other, and I'm like, why has he been alone for so long? Why has he not gotten remarried? Why is he not in no longer than a few weeks serious relationship? Why? And you know, I heard my youngest say, you know, he thinks she's real. He has this romance in his head. He has this fairy tale in his head. He thinks that this fairy comes in and sprinkles dust on him when he's in time. When our mother left him, she came and sprinkled fairy dust. When he came home from the hospital, when I fell and broke my back, I was critical then in '05. He says the fairy sprinkled dust. He believes it. My oldest daughter stopped her. Says, you know what it is. He thinks she's real. He thinks she's real, and he thinks she's going to walk up to the front door one day and just ring the bell and walk in. Who? He thinks she's Marilyn Monroe. She looks exactly like Marilyn and acts like his grandmother on the ancient lake floor that raised him. That's what he thinks. He thinks that she's out there. And he thinks she's going to walk in. And if you don't think I have an impassioned love for that physicality of that female, it ties me back to Warhol so much. The last great... I did an interview with an art critic last week. And it was over the phone. She asked me in my mind what was the last great iconic American piece of art. And I says, well, I think it's Warhol. She says, the soup cans? Maybe. I said, no, I think it's Marilyn. There's a reason. And I think Warhol, where people make the mistake, the art movement died, and then I got thinking, wait a minute, that's not just in the United States, it's in the world. That's the last iconic piece on earth. And I think that the progressives of the time, as we think about the artist at the time, we make this huge quantum leap as art historians, as critics, as artists. We make mistakes about Warhol so many times as for somehow we think that art was somehow a little bit feminine, or at least metrosexual. I don't think so. I think it was powerful. I think it was very powerful art. I think, here's where we make the mistake. You had the man and or the woman of the 1970s in the United States. They were lean, they were in shape, they dressed beautifully, they were intelligent, they were well read. They had class, they had dignity, they had elegance, they had charm, they had sexuality. But they were tough as nails. They were tough as nails. Again, coming back to Kandinsky, it comes down to the economist first. As the great progressive movement from my mentor, Mariner Eccles, the greatest middle class in world history, the greatest socialized country in the history of the world, the United States, from 1945 to 1979. The great conservative movement, it's over. It is over. We are pivoting post-ignorance. That is my art genre. That is your art genre. It is the counter to neo-ignorance. Again, Warhol wasn't feminized. He wasn't metro. That art was tough as nails. It was beautiful. Did it have that incorporation of popular culture? Yeah, like no other in the history of the... Why? Why could a piece of pop culture be worked on and be so powerful? Because pop culture was powerful. Popular culture, when he was painting, was powerful. It was elegant, it was charming, it was rich, it had beauty, it had elegance. The people were in shape, they cared about their bodies, and they loved their bodies. This woman, artist, who's a friend of mine, she took me and a young woman, and she's been photographing our bodies. And she's made some videos of things. They won't be on YouTube because they're naked, they're nude, with the pick lines hanging out of me. And I got to see her work today. I'll show you some clips from it that are fine for YouTube. But she took us both, this young woman and me. And when I spoofed that for Pussy Riot and Femin, with that hanging out of my choice on their day, those two girls were going to participate. They were too sick. Well, there was two originally. She took our bodies as the chemo destroyed me. And I had a YouTube, and I think post-ignorance so much is going to be the comments on my YouTube site. Those comments that have gone, and I'll tell you how I knew that this post-ignorance gig when I started with this camera had power. My very first subscribers, who are still with me, were some kids at Berkeley. some university students of Berkeley, and they developed a drinking game. And one of the professors participated in it with some of my finance videos with me, a drinking game on the word fuck, on counting the word. I wonder how many of them graduated. But their comments to me, and I knew right then, that was very, very early. I knew, oh, do they know? And some of my early subscribers, I was like, I could tell the intellectual content behind it. I'm like, this thing's real. This thing's got legs. This is real. Because I always thought it was real in my mind. But we know how that goes as artists. Is it real? That's when I was solidified and I knew it was real. Was when the Berkeley kids, those comments that are in my pages, that is post-ignorance. I have found some of them are so incredibly powerful. Some of those comments are so metaphorical. Some of them are so contrarian. Some of them are so ridiculous. But the vast majority of this colony that is watching has been so intellectual and so raw, as she's been taking those pictures of me and that girl's bodies. And I had a guy comment to me, and he says, all you do is amp people up, you ramble off, whatever, that's why. Really? Fucker, if you've seen this slideshow, you've seen this video, you'd fucking shut your stupid, fucking, ignorant fucking mouth. I have fucking every fiber of my being with this YouTube channel, my rating, posting on my Facebook, whatever, musical therapy. Everything that I've done is to fucking transform this fucking body of mine. I was chemoed so fucking hard. Heresy, M squared. I was taken to 0. My fucking count's too fucking nut, as this young woman is. Burned the pigment out of my eyes. Blistered my fucking tongue. I went from 173 to 119. The PICC line, I was shriveled to nothing. As I went in there, I'll never forget, the doctors had to inject me through my muscles, as I'm tattooed up now. And he says, God, I can't even get through. You got a six-pack from hell there. And I'm like, yeah, I always have. I watched it go away, just like that. In there, 11, 11, 11. 12, 12, 12, coming next year. I'll be there. I know I'll be there. I got to see these pictures. As I have, every fireman, I've been on such an incredible regiment that you would not even believe it. I hike like crazy. I push myself too hard sometimes. I have transformed my body. I'm juiced like crazy. Lots of grapefruit, lots of bananas, oatmeal. Oh, I have been so militant. Have I wavered off it? A couple times is all. I barely wavered off it, and I got sick. I've been so militant. This has been so much work, me and this young woman, as she's photographed and videoed our bodies naked. As all the way down, and as we come all the way by up, I got to see it. Holy wow. 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 What my body has turned into? From where it was? Wow. I use my chalkboard in there too. I use some of my creations. They photographed in here today. But that's what post-ignorance is. It's Fukushima is the capitulation. Fukushima will be so much of our lives. And I'm going to start tying in more nuclear, atomic art videos into my post-ignorance, as that's where I need to be. That's where I need to be. I need to be doing more Fukushima videos. More. I need to do 2, 3 a week. And I need to incorporate them into our lives going forward. My path, our path, your path. As so many of us are going to get cancer, and the ignorance and why this has not been reported and why it is post-ignorance. It is the counter to neo-ignorance. And it's going to be sophisticated. It's going to be kind of rough. It's going to be a little bit messy at first, but it's going to refine itself. It's going to be Marilyn. It's going to be that incredible, magnificent, beautiful face and that body and that mind and that sex and that perfection with Warhol. It's going to go to another world. It's going to incorporate like he incorporated at that time. Like poet, it was new. I want to read one last thing. Need new techniques, and the modern artists have found new ways and new means of making their statements. The modern painter cannot express the age of the airplane, the atom bomb, the radial in the old forms of the Renaissance or of any other past culture. Jackson Pollock. There's only been a few times like this in the history of mankind. There really has only been a few times. Ever. Was Pollock on one of them? Oh yeah. Was Kandinsky one of them? As we went 101 years from the Shirtwaist Fire. There's only been a few. We're right here, right now. This culture has to pivot off the fake radical military industrialized complex. It has to pivot off the repression. And the Pussy Riot is so powerful. And I'll tell you why it's so powerful. It is the counter. It is the rejection of the kidnapping of religion and the fake radical military industrialized complex and the religious repressive as these devils have kidnapped religion and become our world. Enough, enough, enough. It is a marquee pivotal time. Fukushima is going to tie us all together. Fukushima is going to make us the we whether we want to or not. That's what this is. I have a whole series of these paintings like this. A whole series. Yeah, there's references. You know who that is up there on the bicycle. It's the first time I've ever showed this. Ever. I have a series of them. Kevin Blanch.